me, the issue that I have is, well, I have a couple of issues, but one of them is being a casual, coming in, making a snap judgment on something because you've seen it on social media, and then making it law, like, this is what's happening and I know it for a fact. No, you don't. And shut up. And the other thing, Bo, is that I've gotten so incredibly tired of this space because it just is the same discourse over. I feel like I'm living in like fucked up Groundhog Day, where something happens and then inevitably I've got some right-wing, media space that decided to write an article about it and is like, do you have any comments on Angel Reese trying to attack Kate? I'm like, oh my God, it just is the same. We are not getting anywhere at this point. We're just not, we do not. This is a very disingenuous space right now. Nobody is really here to listen to anybody else's perspective. If LeBron James posts that Caitlin Clark is his favorite player, then he's getting shit for not protecting Black women. And if you post that Angel Reese is your favorite player, then you're trying to stifle Caitlin Clark's greatness. It's just unreal. We have retreated to sides. No one is trying to listen. Nobody can be swayed. Nobody is open or open-minded, and nobody is really making the main thing the main thing. And I'm not out here trying to sell you on why you should, feel like the most important storyline is who's coming off the bench for Phoenix. I'm in television. I get it. Right. The basketball heads, the people that like really love the WNBA space, they care about those things. The new show that we're going to do is hopefully going to get into more of those things. I'm not out here trying to sell you, let's pivot away from Caitlin Clark and talk about, I am just saying Caitlin Clark herself would love for you to focus on the basketball part of it because the Fever this year, guys, are real contenders. They look really good. Their biggest weakness last year was a lack of experience and defense. They shored up the lack of experience by getting two former champions on the team, and their defense looks a lot better with a defensive-minded coach in Steph White. I would imagine, and I know this to be true because I've been at those Final Four media availabilities when we get time with just the teams alone. I've been at two of them with Caitlin Clark. She is a great teammate. Her teammates love her. And I know that as much as she understands she is an otherworldly star, she would love for you to make it more about the basketball and how well Aaliyah Boston's doing and how well Kelsey Mitchell's doing and what a great piece Sophie is and how they are actually contending. Last year, fine. Last year at this point, we had a couple games under our belt. There really wasn't much to talk about. People were filling in the blanks about whether she was getting bullied. But now they are actual contenders, and I promise you she would love for you to focus more on that. But when it comes to the constant discourse, Bo, I'm John Coffey, bruh. I'm tired, boss. Like, I just can't anymore. They don't care to listen. I'm tired of talking about it. I am very, very unique in that I have an ability to use my platform to actually leverage more of these storylines because I am on TV talking about them. So that's where my main focus is and not just responding constantly to the influx of disingenuous characters on social media that try to drag you into a grudge match about race.
So something dawned on me while you were saying all of that I think the Caitlin Clark comp that I haven't seen made so much, but I think is probably going to prove to be the most accurate one. And this is for me watching the little bit I saw from the clips I saw from the game against the Sky. And then I think when they played the Dream next game where they lost at home.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we are actually dealing with a Tiger Woods like phenomenon, right? Where you have golf had a world full of fans and then the rest of us showed up.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But interestingly, the rest of us showed up and everybody was on the same team when it happened. Golf people were in a different space. They wasn't like, hey, you guys wasn't watching us before. We were all just like, yo, did you see Tiger Woods, right? Everybody got in there, but it was clearly one person who stood ahead of everybody else. But I always say Tiger Woods put a lot of those people's kids through private school. A lot of people got a lot more famous because Tiger Woods was there. Phil Mickelson got famous in a much different way. We can go up and down the line. Then we had all the guys from David Duval to Sergio Garcia. Phil Mickelson wound up in that space for a while. We kept trying to find like an actual competitive peer to who Tiger was. And I think that happened because in part people who covered this, who weren't all golf all the time people, still had a greater familiarity with the game. And so they knew a little better what they were watching and they knew who like the comps were. to put next to Tiger Woods. So far, the only person that we have actually put next to Caitlin Clark is, quite honestly, somebody, if we're just talking about basketball, isn't there. Like, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are not in the same class or caliber. We don't talk about Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark vis-a-vis, which makes a bit more sense, right? When you just talk about like level of play or like who is someone that competes. Because look, anybody that knows anything about basketball, you watch Caitlin Clark, and this is something different. This is unlike anything I recall from a guard playing women's basketball, right? Like Asia Wilson, probably a better player right now, but not in this way, right? It's not this type of player that we're talking about. And so what I have been surprised by, and it makes me wonder how sincere a lot of the interest is that comes from people who haven't been there forever, is it's not taking you to other basketball players. It just takes you to this one, and then what is largely a contrivance that surrounds the situation with her and Reese. But we haven't gotten to the place where this turns into man. So let's talk some more about some of these other basketball players. Like what I saw from these first couple of games, Aaliyah Boston looks a lot better than she did last year. They look to have a lot more chemistry in this. A big thing that I think is important too, they go so fast from the women's college basketball season as rookies into this new season that when you come into this season, it's like, wow, it looks like Caitlin Clark and her teammates have actually met before. Isn't that something, right? Like the vibe seemed like the actual basketball type stuff, right, that we see. I do wonder when people like me, and I know I'm one of these people that's new. When does it get there? Because they're wearing me out on the way over there, Elle. I can't do this shit. I just can't. Everybody lying, everybody on something else. I personally can't do it, but I got to find a way to get into this that's not the internet. And I think that's a WNBA problem, though, is that WNBA per capita is really online, really, really, really online, and it is very bad for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think that the issue is that the WNBA online space used to be something very different. And it was a little bit like NBA Twitter, and it was fun and it was a little petty and like, it was who's dating who's wearing what. Obviously, it was about the basketball. It was very cultural. Let's be clear, the demo looked very different. And now the space has become exactly that. Like almost every single person that I have followed that's in the W space years ago, most of their content now is either defending someone, defending themselves against reverse racism, everybody has drawn their sort of battle lines, and it's just constant defense of one thing or the other. It's, we have like really big figures who have come into the space because of Caitlin Clark, and that's great. I've said this a million times. I think it's great to open up the space. Obviously, like I'm newer to the W in terms of covering it. And so it's important. That's how you grow fan bases. That's how you grow ratings, is new people come into the space. But you've got people who are even Caitlin Clark fans that on a day where she'll make history will find something else to make it about. And it's like the NBA, the WNBA says they're going to do an investigation into whether there was some, racist things leveled at Angel Reese when she was there. And it becomes an attack on every single Fever fan. And it becomes an attack on the Midwest way. And it's like, what? Like, it just, everybody is looking for a reason to be offended. And it has become absolutely exhausting. And I'm with you. The thing with Tiger is that, like, I remember the first time that my dad told me about this kid named Tiger Woods that was coming up. And I was in elementary school at the time, right? And obviously the intrigue with Tiger started because he was a black kid in white dominated space, and that made him different and unique. Sorry, ablation in a white dominated space.
Cablination. Don't you leave that cap part out.
Sorry.
Don't you leave that out. There you go. Don't no sirree, Bob. He want to make sure you get every flavor. All. That's right.
Cablation. But to your point, what we didn't have at that time, while it made it interesting to watch him, what we didn't have at that time was this back and forth about whether he was popular because he was black, or how that was an indictment or affront to all of the good white people who held down golf for so long. It was about the golf. It was like, yes, okay, maybe he drew your interest because he stuck out like a sore thumb and looked very different in this space that we assumed was like older and white. But you stayed because of his dominance, because of how incredible he was. And to your point, it's a little different that, at a golf tournament, if you're watching for Tiger, you're by proxy going to watch the other golfers, right? Like you don't really have a choice. You have a choice when it comes to basketball. You can only watch fever games if you want to, and that's okay if that's all you want to do is watch fever games. But I do think that this idea, we felt like coming in last year, all of my frustration was all of these players understand that a rising tide lifts all boats. So anything that Caitlin Clark can do in this space is going to ultimately help them. It's going to help them with their media deal. It's going to help the ratings. It's going to essentially help their pockets. And we're coming up on a CBA. But I'm with you. I'm just wondering how we can grow this space if there is a super fixation on one player and that one player leads to so many exhaustive conversations that people now want to completely disengage. And I feel for all the parties involved. I feel for Caitlin too, because this is not something I imagine that she thought she'd have to navigate. All she wanted to do was grow up and play in the league that she idolized growing up. She idolized Maya Moore. All she wanted to do was live out her dream of being a professional basketball player in the WNBA, and it turned into something totally different. I don't think when she was a little girl, she imagined she'd have to navigate the complexities of race in the W. Like, I don't think that that's something she thought she'd have to answer to at shoot around media availability every single game. And so it's just, I wish that some of the people who call themselves Caitlin Clark supporters would understand that they do not honor her or pay tribute to her by denigrating all of the women that she looked up to. That is not the solution. That's not the sauce. We've lost the recipe. Like, that's not what she wants. I know she appreciates the fandom, but sometimes it's like, at what cost? And I think that's sort of the frustrating part, is that longstanding W fans have been hoping for this kind of attention. And now that they've got it, it's pretty nasty, and it doesn't seem to have a solution. I thought it was going to get better after last year, that we would sort of get that out of our system, but here we are again.